Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is James and welcome back to the Soundline. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Accuphase's E-280 integrated amplifier. This is Accuphase's entry-level amplifier, but just because it's entry-level doesn't mean that it has entry-level sound. They're a hi-fi brand, they have fantastic sound quality, and they're compatible with pretty much every pair of speakers we throw at it. So going from left to right across the front here, obviously we've got a really nice input selector knob. You can feel that it is sturdy and has great build quality. Got your big on-off power button, a main-in selector so that you can use the amplifier as a power amplifier if you wish, speaker A, B and A plus B selector, a recorder on and off mode, so that's like you can use it if you're running into a recording device, DAC settings, coax, USB or optical input if you're using Accuphase's DAC card, which you slot in the back, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Moving coil or moving magnet selection if you're using the phonostage card. Again, I'll talk to you about that in just a moment. A phase inverting button, which is actually quite a cool feature to have because sometimes you get a room which has some funny acoustics and just simply inverting the phase on the output side can actually really help. A tone on-off button. Having this activated allows the bass and treble knobs to work. A mono button, which is a really nice solution to if you want to listen to a recording on tape or vinyl but you don't have a mono needle, let's say. You could put it on mono mode and it gives you that real mono effect. A compensate button, which is kind of Accuphase's way of doing a loud filter should you want that, and an attenuate button, which is similar to mute, but it doesn't completely shut off the amplifier, it doesn't go all the way down to zero. Phone's output 1/4" TRS jack, and a really nice solid volume control. It's very important to understand that all signal that comes out of your source, like your CD player or your turntable, all signal has to flow through an attenuation circuit of some kind. In layman's terms, that is what the volume control does. So when a signal comes in order for you to get it down to a comfortable listening volume, you have to turn the volume down to some extent. And it's really hard to do that without affecting the signal in a negative way. So Accuphase have put in a very special technology called AAVA, and that allows them to attenuate that signal smoothly and accurately so that even down at really low levels, you still get full range music with full bass and rich mids and everything that you need. The reason Accuphase don't have standby as a function on any of their amplifiers is because by having signal going through one of those standby functions that you see in a lot of other amplifiers, that can actually affect the quality of the sound that it puts out. So Accuphase decided we'll just take that out, improve the sound quality and give them a really nice, big, hard mechanical switch that works really well. And that's the whole front of it. Looking around at the back of it, very first off on the left-hand side here, we've got two option cards. So earlier I mentioned that there is a DAC card and a phono card. Both are optional extras that you can choose to buy if you do or don't want them, and they just slot in here. And then that card, whether it be phono for a record player or a DAC, you can just slide that in there, and then those controls, like the MMMC or the coax USB optical, those become active. Okay, continuing on, along the top here we've got our line level inputs. So we've got dedicated tuner, CD, line 1, 2 and 3 inputs, pre-output, and your main in. So that's where you would run a home theater processor into, or a different preamp if you're using this as a power amp. And then on the E-280 you have one balanced input, which is labeled as balanced CD input. And the speaker output section here. So we've got two rows of speaker outputs because, as we said before, on the front there's a selector. You've got speaker A and speaker B, so you can have speaker A running to the high inputs on your speakers and B running to the low inputs, allowing you to run two sets of speaker cables to each speaker. Or you can use it as multi-zoning, for instance. You could have your main set of speakers obviously in your main zone, and then a second set either outside on the deck or in the kitchen or something like that, and you can turn them on and off as you please. When comparing amplifiers, to one another, you're always kind of looking for a reference point. You're saying this one sounds really soft or this one sounds hard, but it all depends on what you're comparing it to. I would say that Accuphase is pretty well down the middle, but maybe slightly on the warm side of things. Accuphase are known for having a really pleasant, cozy, warm sounding signature, but they don't sacrifice on details. So you'll still hear all those really fine background sounds, and you'll probably hear them even more than you will with a lot of other brands of amplifier, because One thing Accuphase really do well is their noise floor. When you listen to a piece of music on one of these amplifiers, even Accuphase's entry-level one like the 280, you start to hear sounds in that music that you didn't otherwise realize were there, because it brings all those fine details to the front, allows it to be heard better. One other thing I would probably say about Accuphase is that if this is your first system that you're looking at doing, or if you're, maybe replacing your amplifier and maybe thinking of revamping it a wee bit, they would be a great place to start is with Accuphase as a brand. This amplifier is a great place to start for anyone, but Accuphase as a whole is a great place to start revamping your system. They do CD players, they do a tuner, DAC, phono stages. There's a really nice synergy that goes on, and the whole system just sounds like it was designed for one another. And as I mentioned before, these amplifiers are very, very compatible with like 90% of speakers. We have struggled to find a speaker that it doesn't like going with, so whatever you really pair with it, it's going to make that sound good. Talking about speakers, you may be wondering what would be a good pair of speakers to pair with this if you're thinking of starting a system. We offer a couple of brands here, Monitor Audio and Sonus Faber being the two main brands that we carry. Accuphase, as I said, goes great with everything, but for me, what works really well is the Sonus Faber Sonito 3 floor standing speaker with the Accuphase E-280. In a decent sized room or just a general living space, it's the perfect amount of power for filling the space, and they just sort of sound like they gel together really nicely. The harmonics just sort of really work with this combo. The room that we've got in here next door is about 6 meters by 7 meters, so that's just under 50 square meters in terms of floor space. Anything that size or under, you can have plenty of power. Bear in mind, Accuphase's power ratings are very, very modest. So when they say that this is a 90 watt by 2 amplifier, that's actually them being quite humble. Realistically, it's going to be more like 120 to 130 watt amplifier when you're running it at a reasonable volume. Okay guys, that has been our video for the Accuphase E-280. I hope you found it informative, or at the very least enjoyable. If you have any more questions about the amplifier or anything, you can drop them down in the comments. We're going to chuck a link up in the top right hand corner here to our other video showcasing the whole integrated range that Accuphase does. So you're welcome to check that out. Or if you want to have a listen to the amplifier yourself, give us a call, come in and have a listen to it. We'd be happy to give you a demo. I'm going to listen to some music.